Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody to our City Council meeting, Sueur City Council meeting dated November 8, 2021. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, you were all given an agenda. You've had an opportunity to look it over. This time I'll accept any motions to accept this agenda.
So moved, with the understanding that the one item is removed. The
personnel item?
Yep, on the consent agenda, I'm requesting that the personnel actions item is removed.
Very good. Mr. Sullivan?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Schlueter. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Moving on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the City Council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. These items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. At this time, we'll ask our city administrator to give a little review of these items, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of City Council. First item you have are the minutes from the last meeting on October 25th. The second item, B, are the disbursement approvals through today, November 8th. Those disbursements totaled just over $2.5 million. We had a series of debt service payments on there. Some Bolton and Mink engineering for the mall. Some payments that were approved or that are on the consent agenda tonight for the water tower, well number 8, and then the reconstruct. And then a few other items that we have on there for some pumps and things of that nature. So $2.5 million just over that for disbursements. That item C has been removed. We have an RPAC board appointment. Brandon Radunez, he applied for RPAC and is able to attend those meetings. So he is on there. We have the Sueur Airport Maintenance and Operations Grant Contract. So that's something that we do every year with the FAA, and we receive some money to maintain and operate the airport. We have the 5th Street Extension Project final payment. So that is just on the north side of the Meadows apartment complex that connects that to the complex and has a nice ingress egress for that facility. Main Station Substation Upgrades Engineering Agreement. That's with DGR. And that's to upgrade some of the equipment on the substation on Main Street. And then the South Main Street Reconstruct pay request number 6. So that's to Pember. The water tower pay request number 6 to Landmark. And the well number 8 pay request number 2 to Trout well drilling. So that wraps up the consent agenda.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for City Administrator Krugel on the consent agenda? If not, I will entertain any motions.
So moved.
Mr. Swanberg, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. On to public comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting and on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing their name and address. And at this time, Mr. McMillan is signing in, so.
Yep.
you want to?
I'll just check, Mr. McMillan, are you here for the agenda item for the closing down of Main Street application? Yes. Okay, we can talk once that agenda item goes. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanberg, for bringing. So with that, we will move on to the main agenda. First item is item 6A, the Main Street closure application. City Administrator Krugel, you want to visit with us about that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of council. This is the first application that we received to close down the newly opened Main Street, which is interesting. We've received a few comments about that as we open it up just to close it down. But really, I think everybody understands that has been designed and we hope is used as a festival street at times. So periodically it'll be closed from time to time, and it's important to have a defined process for closing it. There's a couple items on top of the reason why this would normally be on consent agenda, but because it's the first one, I want to talk over a few of the details with City Council just to make sure that the direction to staff is clear. So I'm going to go over a few things, but at the end of the day, I'm going to look for official action to approve Max Green Mill's application to close it down on November 13th. But then also I'm looking for some direction related to some of the details with this. So here's a beautiful overview of what this section of the street will look like again once it's all done and the trees have grown. But really what we're looking for, and my pointer is, there we go. So again, we're trying to connect, we connected Main Street between Bridge and Ferry and will periodically be closed for events. There's an application, you've seen that application in your packet, what that looks like. We felt it important to get that out as soon as we could because we anticipated events happening, acknowledging that there's going to be some things out here. Now, there's a couple things that I want to consider or have the City Council consider, but one of them is fees, and we're not, just to be clear, considering this for the Green Mill right now. That's not with this, but this is just for future considerations if we even want to do it. Currently, we have no fees adopted, and really what this would look like if we would ever do it, it would be in the governmental fee schedule, and we could amend it or change it from time to time or at least annually confirm what it is. But there are some internal costs related to staff time, the barricades, and additional police activity. We estimate, and we talked about this internally, that it would be about $200 per event. Really, that entails the placing of the barricades, from staff to bring them down to Main Street from our street shop, the police moving those barricades into place during the event, the police moving those out of the way after the event is over, and then our street department picking it back up, and then the administrative side of it, internally processing an application like this. So we estimate it's about $200 per event on average. If there's an appetite for City Council to have a fee for this after this first event, that's something that we can take care of tonight, or it's something that we can talk about more in the future. So I just want to start thinking about that, and we don't have to have a conversation about this right now, but there's a couple other things that I'd like to talk about as far as considerations go, and then at the end kind of have a summary conversation about that. Next, we're talking about availability. So as you can imagine, we have other businesses on Main Street that aren't necessarily benefiting from closing it down. So staff feels it's important to have some defined guidelines as far as when it's appropriate to close down Main Street. And the idea behind this is that we set some parameters, and anything that falls within the proposed availability, that's something that an application can be processed internally. So what that means is that wouldn't go to City Council. And if they met all the criteria, we could process it internally and do it in that manner. But anything outside of these hours that I'll go over here shortly would then go to City Council for formal City Council approval. There's things to consider, such as the noise ordinance that we have, and if you exceed going past a certain time, then we need to give a variance for that. We've done that for some various dance permits and things like that we've issued in the past. So really we want to have consistency so that, I'll use Haymake Dental for an example. If they're trying to direct a patron of that dentist office how to get into the office during certain times, they might potentially have to say you have to park somewhere different than right in front of it because of the closures. Just to kind of keep into consideration those businesses, the bank as well, that we have on the other end of the other end compared to Max. But so just to kind of be consistent here. So what we have proposed for hours is Monday through Thursday, 11 to 1. So we're thinking if there's some sort of noon hour event that, music on Main or something like that, the chamber has some events like that they like to do in the summer. That's something that could be approved administratively, internally. And then anything 5 to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday could also fall into that group. And then Friday through Sunday would be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So that follows our noise ordinance that we have, and that would be appropriate. Sometimes you might have an event on Friday or something that starts on Friday. For something like Giant Days, if they would want to use that space, likely that would be part of a kind of a permit application group that they do. And there's a lot of permits that are required for Giant Days. If they would like to use Main Street for any type of event, that would likely be part of that, and that would go to council because that's kind of a longer event, potentially later, things like that. So those are the proposed hours. We're looking for some feedback on that as well from a staff perspective. Also, a consideration is, and we're trying to do this as efficiently as possible. So if city council chooses, they could say, we want every single Main Street closure application to come to city council. We want to say on it. We need to know that if that's the case internally, because that creates a timeline constraint potentially for somebody that maybe wants to apply to close it down. They need to get it on the agenda, and there's another, potentially a week or so that could be added to that. So keep that in mind, but that's, the hours. And then, does city council want to see every application that comes through to close down Main Street? And know that we're evaluating this as a staff, and, you as a city council should be as well, and see what the citizenry is saying, because potentially, the more open we have this, the potential for it being closed more frequently is there. Which may or may not be, something that's desired by city council and the citizens. So we're going to kind of keep this open, and we're going to have an ongoing conversation until we can really get it dialed in, likely over time, over the next year or two, to really see what works and what doesn't. Communications. It's obviously important to communicate when we're closing down a road in town. So, along with the prior event, no parking notices. So, I'll use the event that we're talking about on November 13th. Prior to that event, we're going to have to put out signs saying no parking on the street itself. So on Main Street. So we're going to have to demonstrate that. But also to communicate with the downtown property owners. And what we would do there is get an updated contact list. We have a pretty good contact list right now. And find out what their preferred means of communication are. Is it phone, mail, email, in person? Somehow to make sure that, the directly affected adjacent properties on Main Street are for sure notified, and then, the surrounding areas as well, because that could affect some things there. Emergency management groups looking at fire, police, ambulance, making sure that they know that road would be closed at a certain time, just to make sure they're in the loop as far as, what's accessible and what's not. We have a good email group with all of those agencies in there. And then the public, when is this happening, and making sure that the public knows that there's an event going on down there. And we'll use our normal means of communication with social media and our website and things like that. So we just want to make sure that we're not missing anything here. If there's another group that city council feels, and like everything else, this will move and adapt as we get feedback. If there's somebody that requests some information, we'll just add them to the list and add them to our communication protocols. So,
Mr. Mayor, may I speak real quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jasper, I would write, as you say that list right there, we're going to have an electronic sign. That clearly should be one of the ways we tell people. It's right there.
Yep. Very good point. Yeah, we haven't really worked that into our protocols yet because it's not quite there. But we will use it for all of our communication. Right. So it'll be mixed in with our, anything that we post on social media or our website, we're going to use that sign to also convey that message. But that's a very good reminder. And the last thing is access. So I know we've talked about, and on the application, it says, half access, full access, closed down, talking with the engineer. And a lot of these things where we were discussing, as the bank was contemplating, and they still might do it. It might do something there with a drive-through access on Main Street. Right now, they currently don't have any drive-through access. So, the ingress, egress of the street would be a challenge if we close down just half of it. Somebody could potentially pull into the street and not be able to get back out, causing an issue. So until there would be any sort of potential ingress, egress route that's there, which there isn't right now, we would, all closures would be the complete section of Main Street. So from Ferry to Bridge, just so that we can control traffic flow and things of that nature. That may change in the future if there are some reconfigurations of access due to some businesses. So just want to make sure that's clear with the group, just as we move forward. That's what we'll do. And if that works, that's what we'll have to work in order to ensure safe travel through there. So I think that's my last talking point. And again, tonight, what we're looking for is just a motion. It's recommended that we approve the Main Street closure application by Max Greenmill for the Saturday, November 13th, from 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then also, if there's some direction to staff about, some of the items we talked about, you can do that. You don't have to do anything related to that right now. You can give just direction too, as far as what you feel is appropriate, knowing that we're really trying to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on down there when these things happen. And, at the first time that it happens, there's no doubt we're going to learn a lot from what works and what doesn't, but know that we're going to adapt and change up our protocols accordingly to what works. So with that, I'll entertain any questions, discussion about these items.
Mr. Schluter.
One question that wasn't addressed, there's always possibility that cleanup is going to need to be done after an event. Nothing was talked about maybe having a deposit included with the fee in case there's cleanup afterwards. I'm not saying stick it in, but it's just something we need to think about.
Yep. No, that's a great point, and thanks for the reminder to discuss that. At this time, we don't have anything in the application. If it becomes an issue where people that are requesting these closures are not cleaning up after themselves, then it'd be something that I think we could just throw into the application if it becomes an issue. We have those, bars have had events there in the past, and they've always done a nice job of cleaning it up. So as those things develop, one of the things that we kind of discussed internally that somebody could do is you could rent Main Street or apply to close down Main Street and hold like a graduation party, or something like that there. Put some tents up or bring some food trucks in. So, in that situation, you'd have somebody you don't have any past experience with coming in and, making sure that they know that they're expected to clean up the area. That's important. And that's something that we would convey to that group. But, I think until it becomes an issue, I don't know if we necessarily need to put anything in there, but know that we're going to keep an eye on it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Jasper, with regard to the last item you just mentioned, my initial reaction is that we wouldn't want to close that street for private parties.
No.
It strikes me as not appropriate for that type of facility. However, if a local business on that street, or if there's a cause such as the wonderful cause that this particular application is for, it makes sense. So I think we need to ponder that issue as to whether or not it has to be for what type of purpose it's for, not private events, but things which are benefits of some kind. My other quick comment is I'm a little bit concerned about the one for November 13th. I'm certainly going to indicate that I'm in favor of it, but because the lighting is not yet on that street, we have not been able to install it because of supply issues. I would hope we'd make some real careful evaluation of maybe providing some additional lighting in some way so the street is lit in the evening, just for the safety.
Can I comment to that?
Go ahead. You want to step up to the microphone? Back?
Thank you.
Our event is, the times that we gave you are before our event and after our event to give us time to get cleaned up. to address your concerns about cleaning up and get our stuff out of the street. The outside events, if I am not mistaken, are scheduled to be done at 4 o'clock when we still have ample daylight. So
Yeah,
to address your concern
I do
about
appreciate
safety.
that. My concern was the safety of the people
Yes.
milling on the street. So
Yep, and I understand that.
thank you.
Mac, while you're up there, what is the plan and what is it that necessitates closing Main Street?
It's the fundraiser for the Mike Sunderman family. We're planning on using the street for a beanbag tournament to raise funds. We have, I don't want to say carnival type things, but vendors coming, a certain number. Angie knows better on those things than I do. I know there's a cotton candy wagon coming. There's a horse-drawn wagon coming to give rides to the kids and other kids' events, if I'm not mistaken. So that is its purpose of shutting it down, so we have access to do those things. I know it's early. I know we just opened it and we had long anticipated this. That block has raised tens, if not hundreds of $1,000s for families that need help. And we just want to see that continue to happen.
Wonderful. I think as we move forward, I think anytime we do any type of civic events or any type of events that you or the bar sponsor, I'm all in favor of that as long as they've got some type of benefit for some type of cause. I do agree with some of the other council members here. I don't want to get into where just anybody can rent Main Street and shut it down.
I also agree with that.
I do like the parameters that you've kind of outlined, Administrator Krugel, as far as hours go. And the fortunate thing is about Main Street, which is kind of nice, there's a lot of professional businesses on that street. So those hours are not going to affect their businesses at all. So that should work out well. There's not a lot of retail on that side of the street. So I'm all for it. I kind of like the parameters we've set up there. As far as fees in the future, I think I'm open to whatever anybody else thinks. As far as fees go, if the city does have a little bit invested into it, I would be in favor of setting some type of fee in the future, not for this event, but that's something we can talk about. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
If I may, regarding the fee, it's something that we could potentially add through the personnel and budget if we want to, or not add. In the governmental fee schedule that would be looked at first time November 22nd by City Council, and then officially for adoption on the 13th of December. So something that we could look at and talk about as personnel and budget. If we want to recommend it in the fee schedule, we could do it at that time. No decision, like I said, is required tonight on this. So we can have future discussion at personnel and budget.
And I want to wish you guys well and all the best of good weather this week when you have your events. So I know it's getting a little late in the year.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is it is interesting that just a month ago at this time, we wouldn't have been having this discussion.
Right.
We've gone 45 years without Main Street. Suddenly now we have Main Street and we're trying to figure out how to get by on not having Main Street. So it makes for some good discussion. It's a little bit of awkward discussion, but I think we'll get it all figured out. So
Very good.
Motion.
So with that, we will entertain a motion to provide staff direction on fees, availability schedule, council approvals.
Do the first one. Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Oh, the first motion, of course. To approve Main Street closure application by Max Green Mill for Saturday, November 13th, from the hours of 10:30 to 6:30 p.m. If I could have a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Mr. Sullivan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Swanberg. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Moving on to the other motion to provide staff direction on fees.
Council.
Yes, sir. You guys, good luck with your event.
Is that a Jack?
Thank you.
Theirs?
Somebody
That's
leave it,
mine.
Jack.
That's mine.
Okay. Who's that now?
That's to provide staff direction on fees. Do we want to kind of table some of this for right now?
Yes.
Any thoughts? So as far as the second motion, do we have a motion from anybody to table this?
What?
Or do we want to set something tonight?
Motion to provide staff.
Do we need a motion on this,
No.
or do you just need to discuss it at personnel and budget before you bring anything back to us?
I think that'd be appropriate if anybody, if that's the general consensus with, which if anybody has any different sentiment, they can say that. But right now, I think it's appropriate to bring it back to personnel and budget, have a talk about it there, and then build it potentially into the fee schedule regarding the fees. The availability we can talk about there too, and all the other items, and really maybe refine the application to include some of those parameters.
I would just like to say too, that every application shouldn't be coming to the council. It's our job to develop the policy. It's our manager's job to manage what's acceptable and what is not acceptable. And I certainly agree with both of you that not everyone should be able to shut down Main Street.
Very good. We'll keep that in mind as we move ahead with this. So with that second motion, we'll just leave that out for now. Okay. Moving on to our last agenda item, number 6B, 2021 Street Maintenance Project Final Payment. Administrator Krugel, you want to give us a little summary on that, please?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of City Council. I thought it was important to kind of talk about, this was our first official street maintenance project that we did over the summer regarding bidding it out and having contracted services provide these things. So I wanted to go over what we did in 2021, and then timely, I want to talk about where this is going to potentially happen in 2022 if this is funded again next year in the budget. So you can kind of look at the project areas. We did 2nd Street, Sunset Circle, Park Lane, Regency Road, Inner Drive, Glenview Court, and Canterbury Circle. And what these repairs entailed were some curb and gutter work, pavement rehab, seal coating, and then fog sealing. So those areas, you likely saw some activity there if you have driven through that area. But that's a pretty substantial area that we were touching as far as the maintenance goes. And that maintenance is something that we hope will keep that street in a condition that we can, add some life to it. This maintenance piece was kind of missing for some years, and that's why maybe some of our roads didn't quite meet the life expectancy because the maintenance just wasn't done. So we were trying to keep up on the maintenance, and we're trying to keep the roads in as good a condition as we can for as long as we can. So that was the 2021. That's what you're looking at tonight as far as approving that final payment. I wanted to talk about 2022. 2022, the project area. It's kind of in that same area. So Hillcrest Way, Snow Ridge, Outer Drive, Woodcrest Terrace, Barlow's Knoll, Culp's Hill, Plum Run, Little Round Top, Big Round Top, and Coventry Road would all be rehabbed. And that's, again, that curb and gutter, pavement rehab, seal coat, and fog seal. Now, not every street in this area gets all of that, all of the above for the repairs, but it's gone over, and if it needs it, it receives it. So our street staff goes through and marks out areas where we need to do curb and gutter repair, or we need to patch, or we need to do seal coating and fog seal. So we're out there looking at that, and that helps us develop that bid package. But if this is approved and this is part of the capital improvement plan portion of the budget piece that you'll be looking at, we're going to do a preliminary final budget presentation on the 22nd of November, and then this would be included in that, and then the final budget presentation on that December 13th. So part of that money, I think it's $350,000 for street maintenance. This is about 40% of it. So just wanted to make sure that it was known, and this would be the next year would be the second year that we do it. So, but it does have a pretty substantial impact on the road conditions in those areas. So what we're looking for tonight, there's a resolution in your packet, Resolution R 2021-043, for the acceptance of the work completed under the 2021 street maintenance project, and to authorize staff to issue that final payment. So I'll entertain any questions about the 2021 project. If there are any about the 2022, I can answer those as well. But what we're looking for is a motion to approve that final payment.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Krogman.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Any discussion, comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Comments, reports, and items of appreciation. Council members with your committees, if you have anything you want to share with the community, any upcoming events, anything, this is your platform, this is your opportunity. And we will start with Mr. Huntington, Mr. Krogman.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we will go to Mr. Schlueter.
Couple items. Tuesday, the 26th, there was a Highway 169 meeting in Belle Plaine. MnDOT presented their preliminary plans for the cable medium barriers and access management improvements they're going to be doing between Highway 19 and Belle Plaine in 2023. On the 27th, there was a Sueur County officials meeting. The biggest thing there was Sueur County presented their plans for a countywide EDA position, and they solicited input from all the communities that were at the meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
Nothing to report tonight.
Nothing for you tonight. Councilmember Swanberg.
Nope, nothing tonight.
Very good. Myself, I have nothing tonight either. I will move on to City Administrator Krugel.
Thank you, Mayor Kirby. Just briefly, we do have a planning commission meeting on Wednesday, not the normal day, because on Thursday we have Veterans Day and the city offices are closing. So that planning commission meeting is on Wednesday at 6 o'clock here in the council chambers. And then, yeah, the city council or city offices will be closed on Thursday, the 11th, in observation of Veterans Day. So that's all I have.
Thank you. With that, we will end with an informal motion to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Swanberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That went pretty quick.